searching how to alleviate suffering. When Siddhartha had travelled 49 miles, he stopped at the bank of the river. He cut his hair and beard, handed his jewellery to his servant Channa, and told him to take them and the horse back to Kapilvastu. He traded clothes with a man in the forest wearing buff leather robes. He was no longer Prince Siddhartha, but Gautama, a yellow-clad monk. As he travelled, he came across a herdsman herding sheep. One of the ewes was having a hard time because she had 2 lambs, one that was wounded in the leg and kept lagging behind, and another who kept bounding forward. Gautama picked her up and slung her across his neck, pacing alongside the ewe. He asked the herdsman where he was going. The man replied that he was taking the sheep to the court of King Bimbisara, where they would be killed as a sacrifice to the gods. Gautama went with the herdsman to the great hall of sacrifice, where the king stood with his Brahmins beside a sacrificial stone which streamed with the blood of the victims. Gautama, roughly clothed as he was, used his royal voice and gesture. The crowd listened. He spoke of tenderness, of the miracle of life, which none can give, though it may so easily be taken away. He told the king that if he would sacrifice to the gods his sinful desires, instead of helpless lambs, it would make a better man of him. The Brahmins looked ashamed, and the king gave orders that the sacrifice should cease. Gautama left the hall of sacrifice and began to beg his food from door to door. He found the food detestable compared to what he was used to, but he knew it would help him towards his goal, so he ate. He discovered caves in the hills of the mountains where many, having left their homes, lived as holy men. He came to the mountains in search of a spiritual teacher. Gautama found different teachers and learned from several. For a time he was with Udraka, and 5 of Udraka's followers chose instead to follow Gautama, hoping that one day he would have his own doctrine to share with them. His life amongst the ascetics taught him much. He spent years in the hope of making himself free of passion and to rekindle the fire of supreme knowledge. He sat and did this with his 5 companions. He lived on berries and weeds, and sometimes the townsmen would bring him food. He tried starving himself and became extremely thin. One day he reached a point where he was starving to death. He questioned himself, trying to conquer suffering while suffering acutely. One day some dancing girls came by singing a song about a lute. If the lute was strung too loosely, it uttered a dull sound. If it was strung too tightly, the noises were high and strained. But if it was strung properly, beautiful music would be struck from it. Gautama realized that not by fierce deprivation could he attain wisdom any more than he could have attained it amidst the luxuries of his princely palace. and he resolved to do away with extremes and find a middle path. A young woman named Sujata prepared a pudding made of the richest cream, in which she boiled the finest rice. She sweetened the pudding with honey, spiced it, poured butter over it, and decorated it with flowers. She did this as an act of gratitude, for she was with child after praying some time to become pregnant, and she decided to make a rich offering to Gautama. He, holy man of the forest, accepted the gift. He washed himself in the river and began to go to town daily. His health and beauty gradually returned. His 5 companions, who had been suffering, emerged from the wilderness. They were annoyed when they saw him, thinking of him as having given in, falling prey to luxury, and left in disgust. Gautama left and arrived at Bodh Gaya. He felt that he was no closer to achieving the wisdom that he would need to deliver humanity from suffering than he had been before. He had indeed come a long way using his power of reason, but there was more to do. He sat under a Bodhi tree and vowed not to stir until he had attained the supreme and absolute wisdom. He went into a trance, past the realm of conscious reason, into what lies beyond thought.